Hi, I'm Scott Lowe with ActualTech Media, and thank you for joining us for this RoadCast video. I'm here at Tintri headquarters with Chuck Dubuque, who is the VP for Product. Chuck, thanks for having us.
Thank you for having me, and actually I'm having you in our headquarters. So.
We love being here. So let's talk about software.
Yeah.
Tintri is doing some really cool stuff with software that's really filling some gaps in a lot of ways that we see with some pretty common stuff that's out there. Tell us a little bit about what's happening with the software side of Tintri.
Yeah, so with software, we're doing a lot of work on helping our customers scale to meet their requirements. Now, the typical ways, if you're a storage guru, scale up and scale out are terms that are bandied about. We decided to take a different approach. It was actually inspired by VMware in how they scale up compute for server resources. So if you're familiar with VMware's compute resource pools, when you need to host more VMs in a pool of compute, you don't have to open up a server and add more memory and add CPUs. You can slide in a new pizza box. It doesn't have to match exactly the stuff you already have. You slide it in, put in the software, add it to the pool, and now VMs will start taking advantage of that new the CPU and the memory. Mm-hmm. So we take a very similar approach with our scale-out technology. So, the first thing to know is that Tintri, you can start small, as low as 10 terabytes now with our new T1000, but we can support up to 40 petabytes under management. And we do that through our Tintri Global Center system, which allows you to manage 64 Tintri nodes. Mm-hmm. So that could be 500,000 VMs, 20 million IOPS, lots and lots of capacity. But if you're like most of our customers, you ease into that. You started with some hybrid arrays, some of our earlier generation all flash. Mm-hmm. Now you want to grow. Our scale-out technology allows you to create pools of storage very similar to VMware's pools of compute. So I can create a pool that's mix and match of different models, hybrid and all flash, different capacities, and simply define that pool. And we have the ability to look at up to 30 days worth of historical data to predict up to a week into the future where we need to move VMs around to optimize within that pool.
Very cool. Now, this is a great scale-out story. You also have a scale-up story that will, if you want to see the video about that, it's in the description for this video on YouTube. But you've got the drive-by-drive expansion to solve scale-up. The scale-out is really where you see the real growth.
Yeah, and that's also where typical storage traditionally has a lot of limitations. You have to have exactly the same model in order to do scale-up, or you have to do it in pairs or in quads of exactly the same model, and not all the models support the scale-up. The scale-out. So with our technology, it can be heterogeneous Tintri arrays, going all the way back to some of our first arrays on the market, and the algorithms that we use, some really deep insights, machine learning into the needs of those applications from both flash and performance perspectives, and we can move those VMs around to optimize the pool.
And there's ways to do this that VMware has already built into their operating system, which is VAI is what we use for a lot of workload migrations, but it's got some serious limitations. And Tintri solved a lot of those. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so storage vMotion is the technology we use to move those virtual machines around to balance the pool. And traditional storage vMotion, even with VAI, put a lot of strain on the production network. So first of all, it's got to move all of the data from the source where it is now up to the host. Mm-hmm. And along the way, it's going to lose things like if you're doing all flash like we are, you depend on deduplication and compression to really minimize the physical space. The first thing it's going to do is inflate it to 100% of its logical size. Yep. So you're going to move at least 100% of the data across the wire. It's going to hit the host, so it's going to impact the other VMs that are on that array, both CPU and memory, as well as the storage network that it's accessing. And then it's going to send it all back down to the destination. And there are some technologies that VMware does deploy to reduce the number of zeros and common data that's read. But effectively, you're moving at least 100% of the data across the wire. It's going north to the host before it goes back down to the destination. And a typical storage vMotion can take hours.
Right.
So one of the things we saw initially was that, customers liked having the insight and they used it, but they didn't do it during production hours, or they did it during light production hours in a 24/7 environment because of the limitations. So we wrote into our Tintri file system a very elegant way to use the same hooks. So the system initiates the storage vMotion from VAI, but we do it all directly from Tintri array to Tintri array.
So you're intercepting the VAI calls.
Correct.
And then taking over from there to make sure that it's an efficient operation where you maintain the dedupe tables, you maintain compression, you maintain thin provision, you maintain all the stuff that's lost in a normal VAI transition.
Right. And so the net result of that is up to 10 to 30x less data is moved across the network. It's moved east to west, so it never impacts the host. It'll take minutes instead of hours. And from the VMware point of view, as soon as we move the current working set of the virtual machine to the destination, that's when VMware sees it as moved. Now, we're still doing work in the background for a few minutes. If vSphere requests some data that we haven't moved yet, we can back channel to the source to move that data preferentially to the front of the queue, so that as far as the host is concerned, it's instantaneous. And then you keep all of your dedupe and compression, you keep all of your thin provisioning from templates, you keep all of your historical data on the virtual machine's performance and latency and all its statistics, and you keep all of the policies associated with that VM, if it's quality of service or replication or data protection.
Excellent. Chuck, thank you for this overview of some of the new and cool things happening with Tintri software.
Thank you very much, too.
And thank you to our audience for joining us for this RoadCast video.